Today we'll talk about relational versus non-relational databases. When someone refers to relational versus non-relational databases, they're talking about the database management system, DBMS, that the database runs on. Instead of using the term relational, sometimes these are referred to as SQL versus NoSQL databases. The management system will impact how fast, big, and flexible a database is for you as the end user. It also determines how straightforward it is for you to build a query and access the data you need. How do they store data? Relational databases store data in a highly organized manner, in which tables can be related to one another using keys. Keys are numbers or letters that are assigned to data elements. The computer searches for the keys when a user enters a query. How about I show you all an example? Look here. Patient ID, shown here as PTID, Patient Visit ID, shown here as PVID, and Physician ID are examples of keys that aid the system in pulling the correct records that a user's looking for. Do you notice the line drawn between Patient ID in the table on the left and Patient ID in the table on the right? This links the patient table to the visits table. The lines drawn between tables in the diagram relate the common key values, making this type of database relational. In other words, for a given patient ID in the patient table, you can find any other data for that patient in the patient visit table because it will be linked to the record with the same patient ID. SQL, or Structured Query Language, is a type of code, computer language, that allows the data scientist who manages the database to build constraints and keep the database running smoothly. It's also, in many cases, how you, as the end user, will tell the database what you need out of your query. Oracle and Microsoft SQL Server are two common relational data management systems. Working with either of these systems would require the user to write a query such as this. I understand relational databases now, teacher, thank you. But how do non-relational databases work? A non-relational or NoSQL database is programmed in a way that is highly specific to the data at hand and its purpose in the real world. This type of database can contain many more types of data, including free text, images, graphs, scanned documents, and more. The architecture and storage practices for non-relational databases are not nearly as rigid as those in relational databases. A non-relational database might still contain tables and columns of information, but they might be too unique or complex to relate to one another using SQL. Do we need to build a table to hold this data? It is not necessary to build a table to hold this data. It can simply be embedded into a document using a key pair. MongoDB, Couchbase, and Cassandra are common non-relational database management systems. Let's make it easier to compare relational and non-relational databases. Databases like Project Nel can run on a NoSQL platform or an SQL platform. Furthermore, regardless of the type of database that holds the data, SQL or NoSQL, a web page can be connected to the database that provides a point-and-click method to mine the data in a way that is much more user-friendly than using SQL coding. Having an intuitive front end in the form of a web page gives the user an easy method of navigating to the desired datasets.